You know, there was once a father who wanted to send his son to the greatest teacher in the world. So that's exactly what he did. He sent his son to be taught by the greatest teacher in the world. And when that boy sat down in front of the greatest teacher in the world for the first time, that teacher said to him, "We're going to spend today hearing some stories." She started telling him those stories, and for the whole day, the boy's face looked something like this. When he got home, his father was delighted to see his son's face lit up like this. The very next day, the boy went back to see the greatest teacher in the world. And again, the teacher said to him, "Today we're going to hear some stories." And the boy spent the whole day with a face like this. When he went home, he looked at his dad with a face like this. And again, his dad was pleased, but wondering when the real learning was going to start. Still, the father sent his boy there for an entire week, and at the end of that week, the teacher was still saying to the boy, "We're going to have a day full of stories." And every day the boy was coming back home with a face like this. In fact, this went on for an entire month before the father at last got fed up with seeing his son's face like this. He had a face more like this. And he said to his son, "Now look here, when you see your teacher tomorrow, you tell her this is enough. No more stories. It's time for some proper lessons now." So when the boy went back to see the greatest teacher in the world and sat down in front of her, he had a face more like this. The teacher had never seen him with that face before, and of course she asked him why. And the boy explained that his father had said he needed to have some proper lessons now, or else he wasn't going to get to go to see her anymore. So the greatest teacher in the world sat back and said, "All right, I will give you a proper lesson, but first, go and make me some tea." Well, the boy knew how to do that. This was a story from the part of the world where the tea comes from. So off he went into the kitchen to make some tea like he had been taught to do by his mother. And you know how to make tea, don't you? First of all, you put some water in the kettle and switch it on. And then probably while it's boiling, you'd be getting, what would you be getting? Your mug. You'd be getting... Some people have loose leaf tea, some people have bags. There were some bags in this kitchen, fortunately. A little bit easier. Do you take sugar? Milk? I know that varies. The boy knew exactly how the greatest teacher in the world liked her tea, so he prepared it accordingly. Then, of course, the kettle had boiled, so he was able to pour the hot water in. And if it was loose leaf tea, you'd be straining it about now, wouldn't you? He was just pressing the bag against the edge of the cup to give it a nice squeeze, stirring it as well to mix in any of the sugar or the milk that you'd wanted in there, and then taking out the tea bag. And then, of course, he carried that mug full of that boiling hot tea through to his teacher, who said, "What do you want me that for? I told you I wanted tea. I never said anything about the mug or the hot water or anything else." Of course, you know, and I know, and the greatest teacher in the world probably knew, and I'm pretty sure the boy knew as well, that when she had said, "Make me some tea," she had indeed actually meant the mug, the water, the milk, the sugar, etc. But the fact was, she just said one tea. One word. The word tea itself told an entire story. The story of putting on the kettle, getting the mug, getting the tea, getting the milk, getting the sugar. The entire world is built like this. The entire world is built on stories. So much so that many of those stories can be condensed into a single word, even a single sound, like tea. This is one of the reasons why storytelling is such an important skill for teachers to master. This is how most of the concepts of the world are grasped. And so if you can strengthen your ability to use story-led learning, you could end up being just like the child in that story. You could end up discovering the amount of concepts that there are. You could end up being like the greatest teacher in that story and having your children leaving your lessons with faces like this. And to help you, come to Dr. Munir Musa's Global Forum for Teacher Educators for an inspiring hour of empowering the early years of children through storytelling. My name is Chip Cahoon. I have worked with organizations like the Oxford Reading Tree and the Roald Dahl Story Company, and I have many years of helping teacher educators to build up their storytelling skills and their ability to use story-led learning just like the teacher in that story to help get key concepts across to children from as young as 3 or 4 years old. Actually, all the way up to 93 and 94 years old.